My 32-year-old wife, as stunning as ever, dropped a revelation on me that would shake the foundation of our marriage. She wasn't vague or evasive about it. She laid it all out, leaving no room for misunderstanding. It all started with an evening I'd planned carefully at one of our favorite upscale spots. Every detail had been thought out meticulously. The flickering candlelight, the soft background music, and a delicate bracelet she'd been admiring for months. I'd spent close to $2,000 on that bracelet, completely unaware that soon I'd be wishing I could get that money back. Yet, all through the evening, a nagging unease tugged at me. Something just didn't feel right. Our usual light-hearted conversation was missing, replaced by a thick, unspoken tension. She seemed distant, her gaze floating around the room as if searching for something or someone. Normally, we couldn't take our eyes off each other, but tonight, her attention was darting everywhere except to me. It wasn't until we'd finished the main course, and I poured us another round of wine, that she finally broke the silence. Her voice carried the weight of something she'd clearly held in for far too long. "Ethan," she began, a slight tremble in her words, "there's something I need to tell you, something I've been holding inside." As she spoke, I set my glass down, a wave of unease tightening in my stomach. What could she be about to say? For a second, I wondered if she might finally be ready to talk about starting a family. We'd held off until our careers were stable, but now that we were in a good place, I'd been hopeful. But the look in her eyes told me it wasn't that. No, this was something bigger. She took a deep breath and locked her gaze with mine. "Ethan," she said, her tone more serious than I'd ever heard before, "I've been doing a lot of soul-searching lately, and there's something I need to do for myself and for us." Her voice wavered as she continued. "I need to explore parts of me that I feel I've neglected in this relationship." The words struck like a blow to my chest, knocking the wind out of me. "What are you trying to say, Lily?" I managed, my voice shaky as I leaned in, desperate to understand. But she looked away, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. "I want to see other people, Ethan," she admitted. "I need to explore that part of myself. I hope you can understand, so we can avoid even worse pain later on." My whole world tilted as heat surged to my face, my heart pounding like a hammer in my chest. "Other people?" I echoed, my voice rising in shock. "Are you saying you want to date other men?" My voice sounded foreign to me, louder, more desperate, as I fought to hold on to some remnant of what I thought we had. She bit her lip, hesitated, then nodded, saying yes, that's part of it. The room seemed to spin. For a moment, everything blurred, the elegant restaurant, the quiet hum of nearby conversations. Her words echoed in my mind. "You want to date other men? And you think I'm supposed to just be okay with that?" I could hardly believe what I was hearing. "Ethan, keep your voice down," she snapped, glancing around the room, clearly worried that others would overhear. That's when it hit me. She'd chosen this crowded place on purpose. She knew I wouldn't cause a scene here. She'd blindsided me, trapping me in public with nowhere to go as her betrayal unfolded in front of me. "Why, Lily?" I demanded, my voice lower now, but no less tense. "Why do you need other men? What does this mean? Are you planning on sleeping with them? Are you planning to leave me?" Her expression softened, her gaze steady. "Thank you for joining us for this touching journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. We hope it resonated with you, even brought a little inspiration. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. We'd love to hear your thoughts and reactions in the comments. Feel free to share your own experiences or let us know what kinds of stories you'd like to see next. Thanks again for your support. Until then, take care and stay tuned for more great content. But maybe you should think about calling a cab to get home. I left her sitting there in that upscale restaurant, her grand explanation hanging in the air, with a bracelet she no longer deserved. I drove for hours, aimlessly, my mind racing with a chaotic storm of emotions. Streetlights blurred together, and the low hum of the engine was the only thing keeping me somewhat grounded. Somewhere along the way, I must have dozed off in the car, because the next morning, I woke up in a strange parking lot, my head pounding with the weight of the night before. First thing, I relieved myself behind a bush, classy, I know, then set out to find coffee. Eventually, I spotted a small diner. I ordered breakfast and a large coffee, doing my best to pull my thoughts together. There was no way I could agree to this insanity. Absolutely no way. But now what? When I powered up my phone, which I'd turned off the night before, I saw a stream of missed calls and texts from Lily. She claimed she was worried and scared about where I'd gone. I didn't reply. I wasn't ready to face her yet. Not just yet. After a few cups of coffee and a plate of eggs and bacon, I realized I couldn't run forever. I had to go home. When I pulled into the driveway, Lily was already outside, pacing. The moment she spotted me, she rushed over, her face pale and tense with worry. "Where were you all night?" she demanded, practically tripping over her words in her hurry to reach me. "I thought something awful happened to you." I stepped back as she leaned in for a kiss, holding up a hand. "Lily, I need to get cleaned up first." Then I walked past her and straight to the bathroom, letting the hot water beat down on me, hoping it might somehow clear my head. What did she really expect? Was she testing me? Was she genuinely serious about all this? Could our marriage possibly survive this betrayal? By the time I came out, fresh clothes on and a new cup of coffee in hand, Lily was seated at the kitchen island waiting. I grabbed a notepad and a pen, took a seat across from her, and did my best to keep my emotions steady. "So, Lily," I began, voice strained but level, "explain again why you think this exploration is a good idea." This time, she didn't hesitate. "Ethan, I feel like there's something missing within me. I need validation as a woman. I want to figure out what I need, and I think the only way to do that is by exploring relationships outside of ours." I took a slow breath, struggling to keep my composure. "So you're saying you don't know what you need, but somehow sleeping with other men will help you find out?" I asked, my words clipped and cold. Her voice wavered. "I'm not saying I'll definitely sleep with anyone, Ethan, but if the right connection happens, I might consider it." My chest tightened painfully. This wasn't the woman I married, and I wasn't sure if she ever would be again. I stared at her, my heart hammering, trying to process what she was really saying. "So, you're telling me you might sleep with another man if it feels right? And you want me to just stay here in our home, waiting while you do this?" My voice cracked as I said it, the weight of it pressing down on me. "Ethan, it's not like that," Lily replied, a hint of frustration slipping through. "I'm not leaving you. I don't want to leave. I just need space to figure myself out." "Space to figure yourself out by dating other men?" I shot back, feeling my grip on my composure slip. "How is that supposed to work, Lily? How could you possibly think I'd ever be okay with this?" She lowered her gaze to her hands, twisting her wedding ring nervously around her finger. "I've been feeling this way for a couple of years now, Ethan. Our lives have been swallowed up by work, by routine. I don't feel appreciated like I used to. I'm not saying it's all on you, Ethan, but things are different now." "Appreciate it?" I repeated, disbelief and frustration boiling over. "Every single thing I do for us, for the future we've built together. Do you think it's been easy, working myself to the bone every day to make this life happen? Do you think this house, this whole life, just built itself?" Lily flinched at the edge in my voice, but I didn't hold back. The anger I'd been containing all night had finally erupted, and I wasn't about to hold it in anymore. "We're this close to paying off the house, Lily. We've built a life, a real future together. And now, after everything, you're telling me that you don't feel valued?" I let out a harsh laugh, shaking my head in disbelief. She sat quietly, twisting her hands in her lap before finally speaking up. "There's just something missing, Ethan." She glanced up briefly. "I feel like we lost a part of what we had." My fists clenched as I fought to keep my voice steady. "So let me get this straight. You think you can find whatever's missing by pursuing it with other men? And you honestly expect me to sit back, to be okay with this?" She avoided my gaze, clearly at a loss for words. "I'm not saying I'll sleep with anyone, Ethan. I just feel like I need to explore, to figure out what's been missing." Her words hovered between us, as cold and cutting as glass. I could barely wrap my head around it. I had always assumed we'd handle struggles like any couple, maybe the occasional money problem or discussions about having kids. But this? Never in 1,000 years did I think I'd be across from my wife, having a conversation about her need to sleep with other men. And if you find this connection, Lily, I asked, my tone cold and distant, what if you meet someone and it feels right again? Then what? You'll just come home, tell me it's all fine, that this marriage is somehow stronger because you got whatever you needed with someone else? She finally looked at me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I don't know, Ethan. I honestly don't know how it'll play out. But I swear to you, I still love you. I don't want to lose what we have. But you are losing me, I said quietly, the reality sinking in as the words left my mouth. Everything you've said tonight is like a wedge driving between us. This thing you're asking for, it goes against everything I thought we stood for. Lily reached across the table, attempting to take my hand, but I pulled back. Ethan, please. I just need you to understand that this is something I feel like I have to do. For myself. For us. For us. I laughed bitterly, the anger welling up again. This isn't for us, Lily. This is all for you. You're the one who's asking for this. You're the one wanting to step out of our marriage. I'm not stepping out, she insisted, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm asking for space. Space to be with other men? I retorted, abruptly standing. The room suddenly felt small and suffocating, and I needed air before I said something I'd regret. Lily stayed seated, her eyes following me as I paced. Ethan, I know this is hard, but we can get through this. I'm not asking for a divorce. I just need time. I stopped and turned to face her, my chest tight with a storm of anger and pain. And after this time you're asking for? What then? Am I supposed to pretend none of this happened? To act like my wife wasn't out there, seeking a connection with other men? She stayed silent, at a complete loss for words. I shook my head, feeling the weight of betrayal settle over me. Lily, I don't see how we can ever move past this. You've changed everything. Without another word, I turned and left the room, leaving her alone in stunned silence. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay there. Not with her words hanging over me, like a crushing weight I couldn't escape. Finally, she broke the silence, her voice so quiet I barely heard her. I can't promise what I'll do, Ethan. If I find something real with the right person, then maybe. She trailed off, avoiding my eyes. So, you're saying you're actually considering infidelity? I asked, hardly able to hide the disbelief in my voice. It's not infidelity, Ethan. It's not cheating if you know about it, she replied smoothly, as if that somehow made it acceptable. My blood pressure spiked, and I forced myself to take a deep breath, sipping my coffee and wishing it were something much stronger. I had to stay composed, to get through this conversation with a clear head. Let me understand this, Lily. I began, trying to grasp the insanity of her proposal. You're telling me you want to meet other men, go out with them, maybe even get intimate, and you plan to keep living here with me? Is that seriously what you're saying? She hesitated, her voice faltering. Ethan, it's not that simple. Seems pretty simple to me, I shot back. What about us? Are we supposed to just put our marriage on hold while you explore? Are we still supposed to be intimate while you're out seeing other men? Absolutely, she replied, her tone unshakable. You and I are a family, Ethan. I love you, and I want to stay with you. This is just something I need to do for me. And how often exactly are you planning to do this? I pressed, my frustration building with every word. Every weekend? Twice a week? Every night? How far do you think this exploration will go? She paused, her voice soft with uncertainty. I haven't worked that out yet. Why are you so focused on specifics, Ethan? Because I need to know what my life's supposed to look like while you're out there meeting, dating, and getting involved with other people. I replied, bitterness seeping into my tone. I don't have a girlfriend, Lily. Not yet, anyway. She winced, but I wasn't letting up. Lily, I need you to be clear with me. I continued, my anger barely contained. Are you really committed to this decision? Have you thought about what it could do to our marriage? She nodded but didn't answer directly, her gaze fixed on the table. Then she said the one thing that would set the course of our future. If you love me, you'll let me do this. If you loved me, I responded firmly, you wouldn't even ask. I took a steadying breath. So here's my stance, Lily. Infidelity, whether or not I'm warned, is a deal breaker in this marriage. So here are my terms. If you go forward with seeing other men, you'll need to move out. I'm not sharing a home with you while you're out dating and getting involved with other people. Move out, she repeated, her voice quivering. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know. Maybe you can stay with your friend Kim. She's divorced and living on her own, right? I'm sure she'd be willing to help you out. If not, get yourself a short-term apartment. But you'll cover all your own costs, rent, utilities, car payments. I won't be paying for anything while you're doing this. Lily worked as a third-grade teacher, making a decent salary, while I was a forensic auditor at a major firm with a good salary and yearly bonuses. Money wasn't the issue here, but from what she was saying, it seemed I wasn't meeting her other needs. That was what really stung. She looked at me, maybe hoping I'd soften. Maybe she thought she held the upper hand, that I'd eventually give in. But I wasn't finished. So, while you're out pursuing this open marriage, I'm supposed to sit here patiently while you date other men. And then what? You come back to me someday? Honey, yes, she said, her voice filled with misplaced assurance. I love you. You're my husband, and I still want to have a family with you. I couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped me. And what am I supposed to do while you're out there, seeing other men? Just wait here, faithful to you? Sit around until you're done with your boyfriends, and then what? Pretend everything's normal again? Do you have any idea what this is doing to me? Ethan, I only want you. You're my husband. That hasn't changed, and it never will. My feelings for you won't change, even while I'm exploring. When I come home, I still want you here to be my husband and the father of our future kids. Her words were surreal, like something from a bad dream. She truly believed she could have it both ways, that I would wait here unwavering, while she went off to explore other connections, and that somehow we'd still have a future together. Well, I said, standing up and crossing my arms, you need to start packing and move into the guest room. I can't share a bed with you right now. This plan of yours is too much. It feels like you're already leaving, even if you're not saying the words. Lily sat there, finally realizing that I wasn't just going to accept this quietly. Maybe she thought I'd be a pushover, that I'd just let her go along with this insane plan while pretending everything was fine between us. Well, she was wrong. I had sensed this coming for a while. Kim, her divorced friend, had been a toxic influence from the start. I'd long suspected this whole exploration idea was rooted in her influence. Kim taught fourth grade at the same school, and her own marriage had ended a few years back when she'd been caught up in a cheating scandal with multiple partners. Now, she was single, 35, living a carefree life, likely filling Lily's head with her twisted ideas. But here was the truth. If Lily went through with this, there would be no family. Not with me, anyway. Only divorce papers. I stood up, and Lily looked at me, confusion crossing her face. Is that all, Ethan? Are you telling me to leave? For now, yeah. Let me make this crystal clear, Lily. I don't want you to go through with any of this. We made vows, promises to be faithful to each other. And now you're planning to break that vow. What am I supposed to do? Just wait around while you see other men? If you want an open marriage, then I assume I'd have the same freedom. She had no response. Without another word, I grabbed my car keys and headed for the door. Ethan, where are you going? She called after me. I don't know yet, I replied, not looking back. But move your things into the guest room and start figuring out where you'll stay. You're not bringing any of your explorations into this house. I shut the door with more force than usual, the sound echoing in the empty space behind me. As I sat behind the wheel, I briefly considered driving to Kim's apartment and confronting her, but I knew it wouldn't solve anything. This mess was on Lily, not Kim, and Lily would have to live with the fallout. Monday rolled around, and I was out of the house before Lily even woke up. I had no intention of letting this madness go on without taking action. Did she really think she could just start dating other men, and I'd sit around doing nothing? No chance. Step one was to contact my attorney. Fortunately, I had a close friend who handled a variety of legal matters, real estate, wills, and while he wasn't a divorce attorney, he could connect me with someone who was. He came through, referring me to a top divorce lawyer at his firm. By that afternoon, I had a meeting set up with her. It wasn't a conversation I ever wanted to have, but it was necessary. I made it clear to the attorney that I wasn't out to destroy Lily. A straightforward 50-50 split of assets would be fair. After all, we'd built this life together until now. I wasn't looking to prolong things over my wife's betrayal, but I wasn't ready to file just yet. I wanted proof of her infidelity before making any decisions. The week dragged by. I spent as little time at home as possible, spending my evenings at the gym to work off the frustration. Meanwhile, Lily was practically glued to Kim. By Thursday, she mentioned she'd be staying at Kim's place for a few weeks while she looked for her own place. I knew exactly what that meant. It was her free pass to see her new friends without me around. Saturday arrived, and Lily was packing her things into her car, ready to leave. Just before she drove off, she hesitated, looking at me with wide, uncertain eyes. "Ethan, I don't want to leave. Is there really no way for us to work something out so I can stay?" She asked softly. "I love you, and I want to make our marriage stronger." I sighed, feeling the weight of her words settle on me. "Lily, if you really loved me and wanted to fix this, you wouldn't be doing it. I want you to stay too, but I'm not going to sit here while you're out there with other men and still call you my wife. If you're not willing to try counseling, I don't know what else there is to say. So go." She loaded the last of her bags, and once she left, I drove to the hardware store. I bought new locks and spent the rest of the weekend changing them. I also reset the garage door code, making sure she couldn't just come back in. The following week was torture. I went to the gym daily, pushing myself to exhaustion just to block out the sinking feeling of failure that hung over me. How had it come to this? Had I really fallen short as a husband to the point that my wife felt she had to turn to other men? In my confusion, I turned to researching infidelity online, desperate to make sense of it all. To my surprise, I discovered that nearly 40% of married people cheat. What stunned me even more was that about 90% of them stay married. In many cases, the cheating was simply tolerated, especially if there were kids involved, and couples just continued as if nothing had happened. Many of these wives even claimed they still loved their husbands but felt something was missing at home. Some women who cheat say that the weight of family responsibilities makes time with their husbands feel repetitive, almost lifeless. They spend their days managing kids, housework, and routines that can erase any spark. They start longing for something that feels exciting and new, someone who gives them attention without jumping straight into talk of chores or errands. It got me thinking, maybe the key to keeping a marriage alive is to treat it like you're trying to win her over all over again, without the betrayal. I even wondered if I should try surprising Lily at the club she and Kim frequented, just to see what she was looking for. But the idea felt ridiculous. People cheat for all kinds of reasons. Feeling a lack of intimacy, craving something they feel is missing, or just wanting an escape from the everyday. Some people even cheat to even the score if they feel wronged. A few claim that their affairs save their marriages, though I can't say I buy into that idea. Still, the research on infidelity shows how complex it all is. Marriage isn't simple, and keeping it strong takes work. Open marriages, where both people see other partners by agreement, rarely go as planned. Emotional bonds form, jealousy creeps in, and most of the time, it's a straight road to divorce. Polyamory doesn't seem any easier, especially once children are involved. Then there's the ever-present risk of an STD. For me, marriage only works if it's monogamous. If two people can't agree on that, they probably need to take a hard look at their relationship or find someone else who shares their values. I found myself questioning whether I'd overlooked Lily's needs somewhere along the way. Had I been so focused on building a stable life that I missed what she truly wanted? I didn't know. But I did know that watching her leave to pursue other men was something I'd never imagined. She told me I wasn't fulfilling her needs, but I couldn't see how her plan was going to help us. The next week dragged by, painfully slow. I didn't reach out, and Lily only messaged me once to ask if I could forward her mail to her new address. There was no indication she wanted to repair anything between us. Every interaction was purely practical, with nothing personal in her words. She was clearly going forward with her plan, possibly lining up a new boyfriend, or maybe more than one. A few times, I thought about following her from her apartment, just to see where she and Kim were going and who she was meeting. I even drove by her place once or twice, but stopped short of going any further. I knew that road would lead nowhere. If Lily was going to come back, she had to want it for herself. Otherwise, she'd never really be my wife again. With each passing day, the idea of her return felt more distant. And the longer it went on, the less certain I was that I'd want her back. A month went by with barely any communication. Then, out of nowhere, Lily appeared at the house. When her key didn't work, she knocked and rang the bell. I opened the door, keeping my face as blank as I could manage. "What are you doing here, Lily?" I asked. "Ethan, my key isn't working." "What's going on?" "That's because I changed the locks," I replied, standing firmly in the doorway as she tried to step inside. "What do you need?" She didn't bother with small talk. "I just came to pick up a few things I left behind when I moved in with Kim." It was clear her visit wasn't about reconnecting. She was only here for her belongings. I stepped aside, letting her in. Legally, it was still partly her house after all. We headed to the garage, where I'd boxed up her things. "Why did you pack up my stuff?" she asked, her voice tinged with irritation. "How long are you planning on staying with Kim?" I countered, avoiding her question. "Kim's been great through all of this," she replied, evading the topic. "I'll probably stay with her for a while longer, maybe a few months, but I'll come back. I'll be a better wife by then, and we can finally start a family." I almost laughed at the absurdity. How could she believe that running off to be with other men would somehow make her a better wife or prepare her for motherhood? "So, have you found yourself a boyfriend yet?" I asked bluntly. She blushed, and I didn't need an answer. I already knew. Eventually, she admitted, "Kim and I have gone on a few dates with guys we met at the club, but that's all." "And how's that going for you?" I asked, my tone pointed. Her face reddened even more as she fumbled with a box of her things, not meeting my gaze. I left her there, heading back to the kitchen to pour myself a fresh cup of coffee and pick up the newspaper. A few minutes later, Lily walked in, a large bag slung over her shoulder, her eyes scanning the kitchen as if she expected it to be a mess. But it was spotless. I'd hired a cleaning service to come in 3 times a week. No dirty dishes, no empty bottles, no laundry piles cluttered the space. Everything was organized and spotless. "Need anything else?" I asked, catching the hint of surprise on her face as she looked around. "So, how have you been since I moved out?" she asked, casually probing. "I'm doing fine," I replied flatly. "Work's been keeping me busy, and I've been traveling a fair bit." She seemed a little uneasy and pressed further. "Have you been going out? Or just staying home alone?" There it was, the question I'd anticipated. She wanted to know if I was moving on. I decided to give her something to chew on. "I've kept myself occupied," I said calmly. "I joined a cycling group. We go for rides twice a week, and I've met some new people. Afterward, we usually stop for a burger and a beer." A flicker of interest crossed her face, though she tried to mask it. Clearly, she hadn't expected me to be moving forward. Maybe she thought I'd be here, waiting around indefinitely. But the reality was starting to dawn on her. Things weren't going to go the way she had planned. Eventually, I heard through a mutual friend that Lily had been dating 2 different guys from the club she frequented with Kim. She'd been sleeping with both, but these men weren't interested in anything beyond a casual fling. Both of them were married, just looking for a bit of excitement. To them, Lily was just a temporary thrill, a brief escape from their own lives. By the time 2 months had passed, I'd reached a point of acceptance. My marriage was over. Lily hadn't reached out in weeks, which only confirmed she wasn't interested in fixing anything. Even if she did want to come back, I knew there would be conditions, and I wasn't sure I'd be open to it. Then I heard something that sealed it. She'd taken a vacation with one of her new friends to the Dominican Republic during her school break. They spent a week on the beach, soaking up the sun and who knows what else. If this was her idea of making our marriage stronger, she was badly mistaken. Meanwhile, Kim had likely been reinforcing her notion that I was somehow to blame, the inattentive husband who drove her to stray. Now, Lily was living in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment with her jaded, divorced friend, while her reputation among friends and family took a nosedive. When her mom learned about her tropical getaway with another man, she called me, sounding shocked and confused. I told her the truth. Lily had left to pursue other relationships. She was stunned. I suggested she talk to Lily directly, and when she did, Lily's response was exactly what I'd expected. "Why did you leave, Lily? What happened with you and Ethan? Has he done something wrong?" Her mom asked. "No, Mom. He hasn't treated me badly, but he doesn't make me feel the way I need to feel. I don't feel desired or attractive. I need that, and I'm not getting it from him. So, I'm exploring other options for now. Don't worry. I'll go back to Ethan in a few months, maybe a year, and then everything will be fine. Her mom didn't hold back. If you keep this up, Ethan won't be waiting around for you when you decide to come back. Cheating is the surest way to ruin a marriage. Don't you see that? But Lily dismissed her concerns. Mom, Ethan loves me. He understands. I'll come back, and we'll start a family. Everything will work out. Her mother tried to reason with her, but Lily wouldn't hear it. After learning that, I knew it was time to move on. What was good for the goose was good for the gander, as they say. It had been nearly 3 months since Lily left, and I couldn't keep putting my life on hold. So, I decided to ask someone from my cycling group to dinner. Nothing serious. I just needed a change from the routine that had taken over my life since Lily left. My days were predictable. Work, the gym, cycling, sleep. Day after day, it was the same routine, as if I was just waiting for things to somehow change. Part of me still hoped Lily would come to her senses and come back home, putting an end to this mess. But deep down, I knew it wasn't likely. Even if she did return, she wouldn't be the same person she was before. She was out there, fully embracing her newfound freedom, looking for the thrill and validation she claimed was missing from our marriage. Everything I'd read about infidelity in marriages lined up with what she was doing. So, I figured it was time to take a step forward, but I wanted it to feel natural, not forced. I decided to get to know people from my cycling group better before taking any further steps. I didn't want a pity date. I wanted something genuine. Most people in the group knew about my separation, and I was pretty sure some had even heard rumors about Lily's nightlife. In a city this size, word gets around fast. When I asked Sarah, one of the women from the group, if she'd be interested in grabbing coffee or a drink sometime, I was surprised by her immediate yes. We planned a casual outing for the upcoming Saturday evening, followed by a kayaking trip to a nearby lake. I'd gone kayaking a few times before and felt comfortable, and Sarah, although new to it, was excited to give it a try. What started as a casual meetup turned into our first date. The kayaking went smoothly. We paddled close to 10 miles in just over 3 hours, then wrapped up the day with dinner at a small, inviting restaurant. I ordered a craft beer alongside a steak and fries, while Sarah went with white wine and pasta. The atmosphere between us was easy and unhurried. We ended the evening with a stop at an ice cream stand by the water, and afterward, I drove her home. I planned to end the night with a friendly kiss on the cheek, but she leaned in and kissed me softly on the lips. It caught me off guard, but it wasn't unwelcome. Wanted to play it cool, I didn't contact her immediately. Instead, I waited until our next regular Tuesday cycling meetup to suggest a second date. Sarah told me she'd worried I hadn't enjoyed our first date since I hadn't reached out. I reassured her that I'd had a great time and genuinely enjoyed her company. We scheduled our next outing for Saturday, deciding on a round of golf. Keeping things light but thoughtful. I texted her on Friday, mentioning how much I was looking forward to it and offering to pick her up. She preferred to meet directly at the golf club, so we settled on an early afternoon tee time. We spent a few enjoyable hours on the course, both of us laughing at how unskilled we were, neither of us taking it too seriously. Later, we returned to my place for a relaxed barbecue and a bottle of wine. As the night wound down, I got ready to drive her home, but Sarah quietly took my keys, set them on the counter, and asked if she could see the bedroom. The next morning, I woke to find Sarah's arm draped across my chest, her dark hair spilling over the pillow. She had a small scar on her chin that added character to her face, and her tall, slim frame fit perfectly beside me. She worked as a pediatric nurse, which spoke volumes about her kindness and patience. From the beginning, her natural warmth and grounded nature had drawn me in. We had a simple breakfast on the patio, and soon, our conversation turned to my situation with Lily and the looming divorce. I knew it was a serious topic, but I also understood why Sarah needed to understand where things stood. No one wants to invest in a relationship where the past might resurface. I explained Lily's reasons for leaving, and from Sarah's reaction, I could see she didn't think Lily was planning on coming back. That conversation pushed me closer to making a decision. By Monday, I'd contacted my lawyer and arranged for an investigator. I wanted a clear picture of Lily's activities before moving forward with the divorce. It turned out she was dating multiple men, mostly married, and often brought them back to Kim's apartment after their nights out at the club. 2 weeks later, the divorce papers were served to her. That evening, Lily showed up at my door, visibly upset, holding a large brown envelope in her hand. I opened the door, keeping my expression neutral. "Lily, what brings you by?" "Ethan, these papers were delivered today. Why would you file for divorce?" "I was planning to come back soon, maybe even this week. We could start working on that family we always talked about." I invited her inside and gestured for her to sit down at the kitchen table. "It's too late, Lily. I told you I didn't want you to leave, but you made your decision." She started in with her excuses. "I told you I needed time, space to find myself, to feel more confident again." I stopped her, with just a hint of sarcasm. "So, do you feel more confident now? Did you find what you were looking for? Was this time of dating and other experiences satisfying?" She started to object, but I pressed on. "It sure looks like it. Since you left, I've barely heard from you. You didn't even call me on my birthday. You were probably too busy with one of your friends in the Dominican Republic. Even your mom reached out, asking why you didn't call her on Mother's Day." Her face fell as I continued. "So, tell me, Lily, did you spend your time finding happiness elsewhere?" "Ethan, I love you," she said, voice wavering. I realize now that maybe I took things too far. I'm ready to come home, but I wasn't about to let her back in. "No, Lily, you're not coming back." "What do you mean?" she asked, a hint of anger in her voice. "I'm still your wife, and this is still my home. I'll go to Kim's, get my things, and then come back." "No, you can't," I replied, standing firm. "Did you actually read all of the papers in that envelope? There's a judge's order in there. You aren't allowed within 500 feet of this house until the divorce is final. Technically, you're already violating that order right now. I'm not going to make an issue of it tonight, but you need to leave." She looked genuinely shaken for the first time, the reality of her choices setting in. The promises we'd made to be faithful, to love and respect each other, they'd been broken beyond repair. "If you want the house, you can buy out my half for $170,000, I told her. "Otherwise, we'll sell it and split the proceeds. Either way, you're not moving back in." I walked her to the door, closed it behind her, and locked it. A month later, we finalized the divorce quietly, without any drawn-out court appearances. Lily received her share of our assets, the house was sold, and I moved forward. Lily, meanwhile, continued down the path she'd chosen. A mutual friend later told me her charter school had asked her to tone down her personal life. Word had spread about her relationships with multiple men, and parents were uncomfortable having her around their kids. The mothers, in particular, were vocal, suspecting that some of their husbands had been involved with her. Eventually, Lily's choices caught up to her in other ways. She contracted an STD, not life-threatening, but one that required abstinence for a year. And to add to it, she was pregnant. One of her partners had fathered a child with her, and she hadn't taken precautions. No official father was named, though the baby bore a striking resemblance to one of her married colleagues at the school. My divorce from Lily was a clean slate. It's been a year since this all began. I bought a new home, received a promotion at work, and most importantly, Sarah and I are now living together. We're thrilled to announce 2 big milestones. We're getting married this summer, and we're expecting our first child just before Christmas. Thank you for joining us for this touching journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. We hope it resonated with you, even brought a little inspiration. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. We'd love to hear your thoughts and reactions in the comments. Feel free to share your own experiences or let us know what kinds of stories you'd like to see next. Thanks again for your support. Until then, take care and stay tuned for more great content. Bye-bye.